about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOCDALI. So I'm old school. Maybe it's because I'm Generation X. Maybe it's because my mom was a workaholic. I'm a workaholic. But for me to call out sick, it's rare. I only called out sick once in the last 25 years. And it was because, not my hysterectomy. I actually did my show the next day. I saw patients the next day. That's fine. Nope. In the last 25, you know what? Sorry. I went back to work 3 days after my son. And my son is 22. So 22 years. But I called out last May. I think it was Cinco de Mayo. It was the last day of my show at Genesis Communications Network because I had the most horrible stomach flu, vomiting, diarrhea. I could barely get out of bed. I was so dehydrated. It was rough. Never thought I would have to do that. But I have to basically be dying to call out of work. And I still feel guilty. I still feel guilty for missing that. And I had a work trip. It was my final show at Genesis Communications Network. And it was before I transferred to Talk Media Network. So I wanted to do a great show. Say goodbye to the guys that were over there. And I needed to then fly an hour or two later up to Reno for a charity event. And I had to cancel. Never have I had to cancel being sick. In fact, the last time I had a stomach bug like that, it was when I was applying for residency at San Francisco. And I had to drive from L.A. to San Francisco because we couldn't afford the plane flight. And my husband said, bring a bowl. I don't care if you're vomiting and pooping in the car. I'm taking you to this interview. And you'll feel better the next day. So you'll be fine. And he was right. I mean, I was still a little dizzy, but I was able to do my interview, although I didn't get in. Well, I might have. It just I didn't rank them highly because I ranked Las Vegas and Reno and some of the other UCLA, I think, before. But anyway, to call out, it's just not something I want to do. I feel guilty. No. Nowadays in society, completely different. In fact, according to a report issued by the Manhattan Institute, more than a third of New York City's public school students were chronically absent, meaning more than 10% of the time. And more than 39% of low-income and minority students, this is according to the New York Post, and English language learners were chronically absent. So the students who might need to attend school regularly were the least likely to go. Why? What's happening? Is it that the parents don't feel well, so like we're not taking you? Is it that the kids aren't feeling well? Is it that the kids are getting bullied? Is it that they don't feel like they're learning in school anyway? But when we look at how bad the Department of Education is and what's happening with education across the country, I think it's multifactorial. And one of the factors we have to be honest about is maybe it's also because the kids aren't showing up. Now, if I wasn't going to school as a kid, I either I have to be in the hospital or they're sending me to the hospital. I mean, you just went to school. My parents had to work. They're like, we're not paying taxes for you to be home. And I hated being home. When I was sick, I didn't want to be home sick. I'd have to watch The Price is Right and a bunch of game shows. And I didn't want to sit and watch game shows. I wanted to go to school. But since COVID, it's, well, you know, if you're sick, stay home. Which, as a doctor, I understand that. You know, we do not want people going to school sick and getting other people sick. But the problem with that is there's always something. Now that COVID hits us in the summer and the spring and the fall, somebody's sick with something all the time. And so kids are being sent home. People are not going to school. Not to mention, oh, I didn't study for my test. Oh, I'm tired. Oh, I didn't sleep well. Oh, I have a headache. Oh, I have menstrual cramps. Oh, I really feel for these young girls that have menstrual cramps because I remember mine. They were horrible. But I never missed school. I'd limp from class to class. But that was just that thinking. I'm like, I can't miss school every month. Now, what I would do is if I got bored in class, I would ask the nurse if I could lie down for a little bit. And I found out very quickly on that menstrual cramps allowed you to get out of class and lie down for an hour. So I started to do that when I didn't have my period, but I would time it. And I would go, okay, you know what? It's been a month, so I could go back to the nurse and do that. So I played the system a little bit, but I still showed up to school because there was no way I could miss all my classes. But chronic absenteeism is now a thing. I'm also seeing that with adults. I work for a telemedicine company, and there's a limit to how many work notes you get. Because employers are getting ticked that people are calling up telemedicine companies saying, write me a work note, I'm sick. See, the reason why you have the work notes is because people would call out left and right, and the boss is like, really? You're sick? Really? Where's the proof? Well, they know a doctor doesn't want to lie because they can't lie. So many of you work for bosses, work for companies, or have always worked for companies where you have to show proof. Now, they don't want you to bring in your sputum. They don't want you to bring in your diarrhea. What they want you to do is bring in a doctor's note. But that's not very practical because if you do have the flu or you have COVID or you have diarrhea, for you to go out of the house to go to a doctor is not very practical. The doctor says don't come in if you're sick. Although I still want to make sure that you don't have anything more serious. So we have a chronic absenteeism problem, but we need to figure out why. 1-877 Doc Daliah.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now to answer your questions for free. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell our listeners who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me join you to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now and find out how much your case is potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. If you think you deserve compensation, call now to find out how much you qualify for. 800-710-5100.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Hot Shot Secret Stiction Eliminator.
Stiction, that sticky friction, undermines the performance of diesel engines. Third-party ASTM testing verifies that Stiction Eliminator removes 2 times as much stiction than any alternative on the retail shelf. Stiction Eliminator is formulated to be left in the engine oil. It works as you drive.
Available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret. Powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Dali, 1-877-DOCDALI. Yeah, sometimes I can't spell. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on X or Twitter at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So all this waste, fraud, and abuse, fantastically, that Elon Musk is finding. I mean, it's not fantastic. We have the waste, fraud, and abuse. It's about flipping time somebody's finding it. And Elon Musk has been doing a really good job, he and his team. But the question that comes next is, if you do see somebody that has committed fraud, what happens to them? Do you file charges? Do you fire them? We're looking for waste, fraud, and abuse. Now, usually with waste, you get fired. You're wasting resources. You're costing us a lot of money. Abuse of the system, taking advantage. If it's within legal confines, probably you just get fired. But fraud, well, fraud is criminal. So I think many of us have been asking if they do find waste, fraud, and abuse using U.S. aid as a cover, even though some things are going to health initiatives and some valid projects. From what we're being told, allegedly it was used as a cover for money to go into other people's pockets. And when Elon Musk was in the White House during that interview where he was holding his son, and he said, a big question they have is, how does somebody who is making $100,000 a year a multimillionaire? And then why would they still be getting the $96,000 or $103,000 a year salary at the government if they are a multimillionaire? Is it because they're getting money from the government? So the question is, if you do find somebody that committed fraud, what happens to them? So we're being told that Trump might consider criminal charges. Federal workers at USAID, according to Daily Mail, could find themselves behind bars for fraud after Doge uncovered a massive spending scandal. Peter Morocco, deputy administrator designated at USAID, provided the House Foreign Affairs Committee with a briefing on Capitol Hill while discussing the review of foreign aid implemented by President Donald Trump. He told the committee he is considering sending criminal recommendations to the Justice Department regarding actions within USAID that was exposed by Elon Musk's Doge department. He said apparently there's still judicial action that has even come out as of late this morning, according to Representative Keith Self from Texas. He was at the meeting. They intend to refer USAID officials to the DOJ, noting how fraud is a criminal act. They're right, it is a criminal act. This is kind of concerning. The Republican also shared that Morocco left open the possibility that both U.S. aid workers and grant recipients could be recommended for crimes. If they are detecting outright fraud, not just bad programs, not just ignoble programs, not just programs that don't support the national interests of the United States, but if they're finding fraud, then absolutely the wrongdoer should be prosecuted, according to Representative Self. Now, I think President Trump, during his joint address or his address jointly to Congress, had said that they were some of the money was going to transitioning mice to transgender sexes and so those wouldn't be criminal. But if people were saying, oh yes, this money is going to this company, and somehow it ended up going back to them, or they got quid pro quo, they get in trouble. So what was it that Senator Menendez just got in trouble and jailed for prison time for that kind of stuff? You can't be doing that. So they say the conduct in question arose because USAID's decentralized accountability system that often left grantees on the ground using American tax dollars in ways that were both inappropriate and potentially illegal. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has been tasked to lead USAID. Morocco is the one running point on many of the agency's operations, we're being told. And I gotta admit, Marco Rubio is pretty busy, especially with what he has to do with Panama Canal, which, from what I understand, BlackRock may now be in control of many of the ports that now border both sides of Panama Canal. So this could be, things are moving. Things are moving in the right direction. House Foreign Affairs Committee held a hearing last month about the wasteful spending found at USAID and the State Department. During the session, Republicans decried frivolous projects like $2 million to conduct sex change surgeries in Guatemala through a trans-led organization and $22 million to increase tourism in Tunisia and Egypt. Now, those would be considered waste, maybe abuse. Those wouldn't be considered criminal. But if somebody is using the money to pad themselves or their friends, or they're saying it's going to something and it doesn't, that's fraud. If there's a charity saying to donate to us because we are helping veterans, and we come to find out that the money isn't going to veterans, because I think the max you could use for administrative costs is 35%. So 65% of that money has to go to what you're saying it's going to. And if it doesn't, you get audited and you get in trouble. So this is concerning. They say this week the Supreme Court ruled that $2 billion in USAID funding that Trump froze would have to be thawed and delivered. Last week, U.S. District Court Judge Carl Nichols rejected pleas that came in a lawsuit from employees to keep a temporary block on the government's plan. There's a lot of things working right now. There's a lot of parts moving in terms of the fraud. Elon Musk has frozen the credit cards of government agencies. Why? Well, because we're told that there are, let me see if I have this. I believe there are 90 million transactions coming from 4 million active credit cards. According to Doge, they said a couple weeks ago, the U.S. government currently has 4.6 million active credit cards accounts, which process 90 million unique transactions, which equated to $40 billion of spending. Now, mind you, some of these transactions might have been buying supplies, etc., but until they could figure out what is being spent. Now, I think Elon Musk gave them a $1 limit. Workers are saying they can't do their jobs, but apparently the cards are handling $40 billion a year in transactions. Well, why? So I'm hearing that there's some work trips canceled for many workers. If they can't prove that, because a lot of those government credit cards are for travel. You buy supplies. I worked for the government. You buy supplies through accounts receivable and through their finance department. But the credit cards are used for government travel. Now, I heard that some of these trips, if you can't justify the financial need for those trips, they're not going to spend the money on it, they're right about that. Now, I worked for academia. With academia, they did not give you a credit card. What they did is you spend your own money, and then we will reimburse you. But your superior officer or your boss has to approve that was a work trip. So you get it approved, you go on the trip, you save all your receipts, and then they reimburse you for what you spent on the hotel, the trip up to a certain amount. So when they say federal workers can't work, they still can. It's just the credit cards are going to now be cut, which then will limit some of their travel. So they might have to do what the rest of us do in the private sector, is if we have to go on a work trip, we go and then we get reimbursed. But to run around with a credit card? So now some people say, well, that's what we've been doing. We've been using the credit card to fulfill our duties. There's a different way around it they could do. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So one of my listeners had written that it doesn't matter what Trump is doing now and men, performing in women's sports and what's happening in the locker rooms, because the next time a Democrat comes into office, they're going to change it and reverse it. Maybe not. There might be some good news. Now, this is coming from what we saw during Trump's speech when Peyton McNabb was the high school student that was playing volleyball. I think she was high school level. And somebody, a transgender, biological male, transgender female was on the opposing team, spiked the ball, it hit her head, caused her to get knocked out, sustained traumatic brain injury, and she had to leave the sport. And she was there, and when Trump honored her, the Democrats didn't stand. They didn't stand and applaud for DJ, who survived childhood cancer and was honored with an honorary Secret Service position by Donald Trump, President Trump. So they did it. The Democrats just seem to be like, whatever Trump says, we're just going to dislike. Well, the New York Times reported that when they surveyed Republicans and Democrats, the majority of Americans do not want transgender men in women's sports. Of those surveyed, 79% said men should not compete in women's sports. The question was thinking about transgender female athletes, meaning athletes who were male at birth, but who currently identify as a female. Do you think they should or should not be allowed to compete in women's sports? 79% said no. And this number has increased from the 2023 Center Square Voters Voice Poll. At the time, that reported 67% of American voters were against men in women's sports. So that number has risen. Now, when you look at the New York Times Ipsos poll, it is broken up among political divides. 94% of Republicans said no. 67% of Democrats said no. 64% of independents said men should not be in women's sports. But across all three parties, a resounding majority said no. Now, 31% of Democrats said yes, men should be allowed to play in women's sports, biological men. But that is still a minority. Well, who do you think is licking his finger and testing the wind to determine if they have a chance to run for president and is licking their lips and their chops just to be in the White House. Governor Gavin Newsom. And Governor Gavin Newsom, who runs California, from what we are told, did break ranks with fellow Democrats. And during a podcast where he sat down with Charlie Kirk, he agreed that it's not fair for biological men as transgender women to compete in sports. This comes from Governor Newsom. He said, well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that, Newsom said. It is an issue of fairness. It's deeply unfair. He agreed that Charlie Kirk's overall stance that it was unfair for women to compete with an athlete born a man. However, he said it's important to ensure that vulnerable communities were protected. I think bipartisanly, we all agree that if somebody is LGBTQAI+, we want to make sure they still have the same rights in terms of marriage, in terms of health care, in terms of not getting bullied. We want to make sure any vulnerable population, woman, man, child, old, black, white, Hispanic, that nobody is biased or discriminated against. However, when it involves being naked in a shower, when it involves allowing women to be able to compete and not be overshadowed by the male sex in the same competition, this isn't about them being discriminated against. It's just how many girls, biological girls, want to play football? I do. I love football. But you don't see women in the NFL on the field. Does that mean we're discriminating against them? It's not safe. So that doesn't mean we're discriminating against women. I mean, if a woman wants to be a lineman or a linebacker or guard or a cornerback, I mean, there's protections in place, and that's why they exist. But interestingly, Newsom is breaking his stance with the Democrats because he's reading the New York Times. He's reading these polls. What the media has done is made it seem like, and what Hollywood has done, has made it seem like that whatever the, I guess, ultra liberal think, that is the way we all should think. I told you I was watching White Lotus, which is not a bad show. I don't think it's the best show out there ever made. It's good, some slow parts, but I'm watching it and they decide to take 5 minutes out of the script to basically make people feel awful for voting for Trump. Really? By kind of ganging up on one of the cast members in the show. And that's what they're trying to do. So that you're like, okay, looks like that's a bad thing. That's a bad thing. No, listen, this is America. If Hollywood is America, Hollywood, then we welcome all parties. We are not single party rule. People say, Trump is a fascist. The Democrats could be fascist if all they want is their party to be the only one making it. Okay, and I understand everybody wants their team to win. Dallas Cowboys, we want our team to always make it to the Super Bowl, which hasn't happened in a few decades. But I get, we have that tribalism where we really, really want our team to do well. But in football, there has to be two teams going to the Super Bowl. There has to be multiple teams in the playoffs, and you have to be okay with it. It can't just be the Cowboys. I love the Cowboys, but you have to understand there have to be other teams. Otherwise, it's not football. Well, just like America. You have to have Republicans and Democrats running. It can't just be about one side. Then we're not America. We're not a democracy. So I think what the Democrats have to do is read the room. And they were wearing pink during the Trump speech for women. Yet they didn't stand up for the family of Laken Riley, who was raped and killed, or the wife of the slain officer, who's now a widow, or the mother of the another teenager who was raped and killed by an illegal immigrant. You guys are wearing pink. I thought you were there to support women. Are you wearing pink so women can be in the locker room without feeling nervous and anxious about a biological male being next to them? Is that why you're wearing the pink? What are you wearing the pink for? Which women are you protecting? And if you're protecting transgender women, that's nice. I like transgender women. But that's not the majority. 1-877-DOC-DALI.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-910-7500. That's 800-910-7500. Call now to find out how much your case could be worth.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So many of you are being told by your medical provider or media to diet and exercise. Just diet and exercise, eat right. And the average patient says, it's not working for me. This isn't working for me. Well, it's because we're not all the same. Right? It's different strokes for different folks. So I am really, really excited about our next guest. Dr. Laura Kuntzis currently serves as Vice President of Medical Strategy at Thorne and has been a registered dietitian for over 16 years and is a board-certified specialist in sports dietetics. I am so excited that she's going to join us to talk to us about how to optimize our peak performance and nutrition. Dr. Kunses, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Wow. So, we just kind of went through the whole, New Year's resolutions, and most people fell off their New Year's resolution by January 3rd. And no. We could pick this back up. We could salvage this. So, what are you seeing in terms of people not being able to stick with it, and what are you recommending?
You're absolutely right. Now is the time to salvage that plan that you might have started. I like to tell people to start simple and to be specific with their goals. So whether that's going to the gym or meal prepping for the week, be specific in what you're exactly going to accomplish. I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week. Write that down. Figure out exactly what days you're going to go, what times you're going to go, and hold yourself accountable to that plan. And it's best to track your progress and find somebody that's going to also help hold you accountable, like a community type sense. Go to some workout classes. Maybe you'll make friends there. Find a trainer or a coach at the gym. Maybe even have your spouse or a friend or family hold you accountable to it. And then finally, celebrate your milestones. If you are still on your New Year's resolutions and it's now March, celebrate that. Buy yourself a new pair of sneakers. Treat yourself to something that helps you accomplish your goals and keep you motivated, because you've done it, and soon it will become a lifestyle habit, not just a goal.
Mm-hmm. And one big motivator for me is just walking through a sports store. I get so excited about, the different options, because we think, well, I got to get back on a treadmill, or I got to go back to jogging. And there are so many different things that people could do, even if it's at home and dancing to your favorite music. There's so many ways you could stay fit.
Yeah, we're lucky to live in an age right now where there's apps for everything. And there's some phenomenal apps out there that can help you stretch at home, or breathing relaxation techniques and exercise. You don't necessarily need to have a full gym's worth of equipment. There's things that you can do at home that can get you on the right path.
Absolutely. Now, I look at these athletes, and the NFL, NBA, they have a team of people working with them. But the average athlete, like you or I, don't realize that there's certain dietary changes that we can make to enhance our performance. You're a registered dietitian, but you work with athletes. I love that combo. Talk to us about what advice you give athletes.
Yeah, believe it or not, athletes are not perfect with their nutrition, just like you and I. And so they need advice. They need help as well. And my best approach is taking a personalized approach. It's a one size fits one. Making sure that the athlete has exactly what their body needs for their goals, for their sports demands, and also for other issues that they might be experiencing. Maybe an athlete has, cholesterol because their family does, or high cholesterol because their family does, or maybe they have a nagging injury that they're dealing with. Like, everybody's just a little bit different, and everybody's body will react to different nutrients from a nutrition standpoint a little bit different. So a personalized approach is the best way to go.
Great. So talk to us about what personalized approaches are out there. I know obviously it's personal, but talk to us about, some of the routines or options people have.
Yeah, I think too, let me first define the word personalization. Probably most people don't actually know that there's fundamental aspects of nutrition that you and I and every athlete and every person on this planet needs to have, right? Like, we all need to be having protein in our diet because it's good for us. It's good for our muscles, our bones, our energy. It's a fuel source, so on and so forth. But what does that mean in terms of personalization? Well, you and I need totally different amounts of protein. We probably like different types of proteins. Obviously, there's different qualities of different proteins on the market, whether that's foods and vegetable sources, or protein, animal sources, or even supplements. And then also timing. When should you be consuming this protein? It's different for you, for me, for an athlete. So this personalized approach really breaks down the components of all of the foods and micronutrients, like vitamins and minerals, that you should be consuming, and how to best get the amount that you need in for your body's needs.
I'm grateful to Thorne for all they do and them helping sponsor this segment. I'm looking at their website, a lot of cool products. Can you talk to us about some of their products?
Yeah, so Thorne's been a leader in the science-backed health and wellness solutions for over 41 years, making dietary supplements. And there's something out there for everybody. We work with a lot of athletes, but also everyday people to formulate products for them. You know, we have a team of healthcare professionals and scientists that are constantly making and bringing out the latest ingredients so that there's things like vitamin D, probiotics, fish oils, but also really special formulas for specific needs like liver health or eye health or, you know, mental sharpness. So there's dietary supplements out there for everybody, and Thorne's a leader in these high quality formulas that, you know, can help you personalize your routine.
And also, you know, many people have asked, you know, they want to do a biological age testing. They want to do a saliva test to look for stress. They want to do a stool test for their gut health, and they don't know where to go. Or when they talk to their doctor about it, the doctor says, well, I can't order it. Your insurance might not cover it, et cetera. Thorne has options for people to do that type of testing.
They do, yeah. We sell testing, and it's actually the way that I help answer people the question, what should I take? I say, you know, start with a test. Figure out exactly what your body might be needing based on the physiological biomarkers that are being measured in it. And it can be as simple as a spit test. You just put into a little tube and mail it off, and you'll get some results and a personalized plan. So tests are a great way to help figure out what your body is doing and also help you track over time with different things that you might be doing differently and how your body reacts to it.
Exactly. And by the way, great gift. I mean, you know, people, we got Mother's Day coming up. You know how cool? I mean, I know my mom would be like, I don't need to know about my gut microbiome. Yes, I think she does. So this is an absolute great gift. So there's definitely advantages to that. Any other, it looks like there's also advice on weight, et cetera. Anything else you'd like to share with our listeners?
My favorite part of Thorne.com, which is our website, is the Take 5 Daily blog. It's full of research-backed, easy to read, easy to understand blogs written by the scientists and the healthcare professionals at Thorne. So you can learn things about your hair, skin, and nails, or maybe about diabetes, or maybe about athletic performance on this blog. And it's extremely educational. It's a great place to start if you want more resources to read.
Exactly. There's been a lot of news about melatonin and all the good that melatonin could do, but you have to use it wisely, and you guys have a nice tutorial on that. So I'm grateful. Anything else you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, you know, if you have any questions, reach out to our team at Thorne. We're always here to help and to help answer your questions. So I just want to cheers you to good health and happiness in 2025. We're only a quarter in, and there's 9 more months to still get back on your goals and to see some progress this year.
Amen. Dr. Laura Kuntses, we really appreciate you and your team. Can't wait to have you back.
Thank you very much.
All right. All right, guys, don't go away. We'll be right back. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.